A big thank you to all of you who like, comment, subscribe and share my videos, or through other means support this channel. You are what makes this channel grow and become a resource for other people to learn from. Enough about how awesome you are, back to the video. Wouldn't it be great if we could recycle our animations and then use them for all our different characters we have and save the planet at the same time? That is what we will be learning how to do today. Except for saving the planet. The planet is screwed. I mean, give me a break, I can't solve all your problems in one video. Let's jump into it. Welcome back. So, we're going to be retargeting some animations, and to start off, we are going to be using Mixamo. So what we have currently is we have downloaded a few assets from Mixamo. We have a general character from Mixamo, the Xbot, which uses the Mixamo skeleton structure, and we have downloaded a few animations that are in place animations, so we will be making use of those in this tutorial. For those of you who are not aware what Mixamo is a site where you can do a bunch of things related to animation. You have a few characters you could download if you want to, you can rig there, you can get some animations from an animation library. It's all available freely here, it's just free to use. So that's an excellent resource to start off with. So these are the things that we're going to be making use of. So we have these Mixamo assets. We're going to be importing them into our project to begin with. So we'll do this and keep the structure fairly simple. This is Unreal Engine version 5.2. So this will be very similar in version 5.1 and 5.0. There might be some small discrepancies and differences, but overall this is the situation of how you retarget moving forward. It has changed a lot since the older retargeting animation tutorials that I've made, so this is to keep it more up to date. We'll create a folder here. We'll call it Mixamo, and this will be the folder that we put all of our assets into when it comes to Mixamo. The first step is we import our character and we allow it to import its skeletal mesh and everything like that. So we get a skeleton, so we import all. Now what we're getting here is we're getting a bunch of different things. We're getting some materials, we're getting a skeletal mesh, we're getting a physical assets, and we get a skeleton. To keep things very, very structured, we're going to be renaming this skeleton and just call it Mixamo skeleton so that we know that that's what it is. Like so. I'll go back to the normal content browser. And this is the skeleton that we will be importing our animations into, that we have imported from Mixamo. Now let's just import our animations into the content folder. We'll make sure that it uses the Mixamo skeleton that we created. Import all. And in addition to that, we make sure we save this and we rename the skeletal mesh to Mixamo SKM for skeletal mesh. So that is very clear as well. So now we have our animations. We can open one of these up and we can see what it looks like. So here it is. And yeah, that's a good start. So close that down and continue. Okay, now that we have these animations, how can we retarget them to a different skeleton? Well, the first step is we need to create an IK rig. So in this case, we go to animation, IK rig, and choose IK rig. We'll name it IK underscore Mixamo. Make it very clear that it belongs to Mixamo. So an IK rig is something, an asset that you need to create for each skeleton that you want to do retargeting from or to. So that's why we have created that for the Mixamo character, and it needs a skeletal mesh, and that's why we renamed our skeletal mesh so we can easily find it. So Mixamo SKM is the skeletal mesh we're using in this case. And on the left here we can see its rig element, its skeleton hierarchy. And we are now going to be setting up a set of chains. A chain is one or more bones in a logic sequence that string together. So, for example, your spine bones might make a logic sequence for a spine, so they could be in a chain called spine. To make this clear, we can go and open up the folder characters and go to mannequins and rigs, and here we have something called IK mannequin. So this is the IK rig for the Unreal Engine 5 skeleton. So opening this up, we can see that eventually, possibly, maybe, here we go. We have a bunch of different retarget chain information available here. So this is essentially what it does. You can have your spine here, spine 2, spine 3, spine 4, spine 5. All of these have the retarget chain spine, which are all of these bones together. And all of these are available here in a spine called spine, or a chain called spine, which has a start bone, which is the spine 1, and an end bone called the spine 5. So everything from the start to the stop, it completes the whole chain. So they're like a element together, essentially. So we're going to be doing something similar for our Mixamo character, and we're going to be setting up chains for different parts of the character, which allows us to retarget. So first off, we'll go to our spine, and our spine, the one that's just called spine, down to spine 2, we'll right click and choose new retarget chain. This will get a default name by spine, and it will tell you what the start and end bones are and what the goals are. For now, we don't need to consider the goals, it will be fine. So we can create a chain from this. We'll just add chain, and we have created a chain now of these different elements. Now, from the Unreal Engine 5 skeleton to this skeleton, you can see that we have a difference in the amount of spine bones available to us. So by creating a spine chain, we can equivalize the 5 spine bones of the Unreal Engine mannequin to the Mixamo's 3 spine bones. We continue this whole procedure by doing our head parts, new retarget chain, and we'll do the same for from our right shoulder. Actually, let's do from our arm, and we'll get to why we do it this way later on, to our right hand over here. We have 3 different parts. Retarget, add chain. We can close our thumb, our index, our middle pinky and finger like that. And we'll do the same thing for our left shoulder, which are these 3 elements. We should probably actually add in, yeah, we missed it. Yeah, we'll go like this. So left arm, left forearm, and left hand, create a chain, like so. We'll minimize all the fingers for now. Okay, so now we have an arm, an arm for the right, left, a head, a spine, and now we'll do for the legs as well. So we'll do let's do from up leg to right toe end, right click, new target chain, like so, and then we'll do from left leg to left toe end. So now we have created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different chains. And if we check the mannequin, for example, you can see that it has many more chains than that. And like I said earlier, you can create a chain for just 1 bone if you want to, or multiples. But this will be enough to give us at least a start. Now, in addition to this, we also need to set up something called the retarget node. Normally this is aligned for the hips. So by right-clicking on the hips and going set retarget root, we have set the root of where the origin of all the animations will be driven from. So saving now, we have the basis of, or the first step of an IK rig setup for our Mixamo animation or Mixamo character. From here, we will be creating a new asset, which is the retargeter. Retargeting asset, we can go back to our Mixamo folder to keep everything neat and tidy. We can also find under animation and under IK rig, and here we can find the retarget asset. So we can call this RTG underscore Mixamo to UE5 or something like that. And now we have been very explicit about which skeleton we're going from and which skeleton we're going to, or essentially which IK rigs we're going to and from. Now, a retargeting asset will determine how an animation will be retargeted from one IK rig of one skeleton to another IK rig for a different skeleton. If we open this up, you can see here that we get to choose to select an IK rig that we're going animation from, which in this case is the Mixamo, and then we get to choose an IK rig that animation go to, which in this case was the mannequin, which is the Unreal Engine 5 mannequin. So now we have both of these selected in this asset. Now, you can equate an IK rig sort of as a language, like Spanish, for example. The retargeting asset in this case is the translator or teacher. So if you want to translate a sentence from Spanish to English, so one Spanish IK rig to an English IK rig, it's only going to be as good as the original sentence was, combined with how good the Spanish teacher is in both languages. Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. I'm sure that helped out a lot of you. Anyway, so moving on from this, what we have here now is our source and our target skeleton and how the results will be from these. So what we can do is transposing them on top of each other like they do here by default in this version of the engine. It could be good to align, make sure that your character is as close as possible to the actual default pose to make sure that everything lines up properly. If you want to, you can change and have them, by changing the mesh offsets, have them side by side to compare animations that way. But to start off with, I think this is good to see what it's going to be looking like. So starting off, our retargeter will keep track of how we map different chains to each other. For example, it has mapped the root to head, the spine to spine, the head to head, left clavicle to left arm to left arm twist to left arm. You can see that it has done its best to automatically map these things. And you can go to your root settings and you can change a bunch of information here. You also have some global settings you can change to enable root, FK and IK depending on what you want to achieve. But as a first step, we want to make sure that we have these mapped properly. You can also go to auto map chain and make something. I think it's running the map all fuzzy to begin with to achieve this result. So it will match the names as well as it can. So if it finds a chain called root or something very close to that, it will try to map it against that one. So having the same naming convention makes the auto mapping easier. But you can always go in and change these manually. To start off, we want to see how good or bad is the retargeting going to be to begin with. So we imported the two animations from Mixamo over here. We have the sprint and the walk. So if we go with the sprint, we can see that this is what it's currently looking like. If we pause and then scrub through this animation, we can see sort of what's going on. We can see that something is going on with the right arm for the character. The fingers and hands are really wrong. The feet are looking pretty okay as it is currently. So there's still some work that needs to be done here. So what can we do then? Well, first off, we need to make sure that our chain targeting is done properly. So for example, our root here, we don't have a root on this character set up, a root chain, so we'll choose none on that. We have head, we have spine, left clavicle. We did not necessarily map that one quite yet, so we can put that as none for now. Lower arm twist we don't have, twist we don't have, metacarpal we don't have, and you just go through these and you can see now left index is referring to the fingers, so we don't have these ones set up as well, so we'll make sure to remove all of these just to have it not actually try to match a chain against a chain that it doesn't have. Left ring we don't have, upper twist, right clavicle we didn't set up yet, right arm we have, twist for arm we don't have, moving this, removing this, pinky is the finger, we don't have that yet. And we're coming down to the index fingers and the thumbs. And some more arm twists. And the right leg, right calf. It's trying to match it against the arm. And left leg, left calf. Not sure where it scrolled now, I lost my way. There we go. There's where we were. Thigh twist, foot IK rig we have not set up yet. Left foot IK, not right foot, no. Hand, no. Handgun, no. Left handgun, no. Where did it go? There you go. Okay, so now we have blanked out everything that we haven't created a chain for. So now we have only the things we have chains for. So this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far. So we have 6 chains set up. Let's see, what does the animation look like now? So now we can see that it's following better with the arms and the hands are super stationary. So it's looking better, but it's still not looking good. So what you can do now is a sort of iterative process. So now we can go to our Mixamo character and say, well, we want to add in the right shoulder. So we'll add the right shoulder. This one, it defaults to right arm. We can say right clavicle instead on that one. And then we can go to the left shoulder and we can say we want to have one for that one as well. So we'll say left clavicle, add chain. We save that, we go back to the retargeter. Now we can go and see, okay, well, we have a left clavicle. Let's add our left clavicle over here. We go down and find our right clavicle. We have added that one over here. So now that we run the animation, you can see that the shoulders is trying to get some sort of arm swing available or running alongside now here as well. Doesn't look great so far, but this is a work in progress. Left clavicle, yeah, there we go. Okay, moving on. We can go back and add our fingers if we want to. So we can, let's do just one of them. So we open up our, let's see, it's the right hand that's swinging. So let's open up those. Like so. So you can see here that we have, for the thumb, for example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different bones that are available for the Mixamo character. If we were to go into the Unreal Engine character instead and go to, was it the thumb I picked? Yes, it was. And then you go to the thumb over here, that's the left one. Let's go find the right one. So here. So you can see that we have 3 different bones for the Unreal Engine mannequin, for example. So these don't line up properly because we can see that the bones here go to almost to the edge of the thumb, but doesn't completely, while it does on the Mixamo character. So if we were to remove the last bone here, this looks like a more appropriate representation of what the fingers look like for the Unreal Engine mannequin. So this might be a better choice for our retargeting chain. So we'll create a right thumb for this. Add a chain. We'll do the same for the index fingers. Retarget. Right index. Do the same for the middle finger. Middle. And right ring. And lastly, we do the pinky. Now we've added all of these different chains to the character. We can say we can go back to our Mixamo character and we can go and find these on the this retargeting chain drop down here. So right pinky, we should now have a right pinky, a right ring, we should have a right ring, right middle. And there we go, right index over there and the right thumb over there. So now we have set in the fingers. Let's see here if we can get a good look. You can possibly see, let's see if it's possible to get a better view here. So you can see that the fingers are in a closer position to what it is on the Mixamo character. So it's trying to adapt the finger positioning there now. So you can do the same for the left fingers and make sure that it follows that as well. But we still have some issues when it comes to the animation, which we need to fix, of course. But that's the general process you go through to find all of these things. But not all bones are going to be available on both skeletons, like the twist bones, for example, are not available on the Mixamo character, so these ones will be left out regardless. But you keep on adding those that are actually available. So the fingers in this case, the clavicles like we have added, none of the twist bones, none of the metacarpals most likely. Calf twists we likely don't have, neither thigh twists, calf twists. Now we have foot IK and these things that we may want to add as well. Before any of that, though, we are going to be looking at our Unreal Engine mannequin again, and we're going to be looking at something called IK goals. So in this case here you can see that we have this yellow cube that's around the hand of the Unreal Engine mannequin. You can see he has two of them, one for each hand, and he has two for his feet as well. These are goals are essentially a position that you can strive for that the character wants to be with. So you can have a bone that you align from one skeleton's position to a different skeleton. So for example, you could make sure that you wanted to have your wrist or your hand bone exactly be in the same location as it is on the skeleton of the one that you're trying to retarget from or to. And by doing that, it will try to adjust the arms and hands to make sure that it can meet that position based on the configuration of the skeleton itself. So if it has a short arm, it might extend it further to reach there. If it has a very long arm, it might have to bend it a lot to make sure that it has the hand in the right position. And this is a very powerful way to make sure that we have certain key parts in proper locations. So we'll make sure to set up something similar for our Mixamo character. So on our right hand over here, we'll right click and go and say new IK goal. It says we need to add a default solver. So we will add a full body IK solver, and it says assign goal right hand goal to retarget chain right arm. So we'll say assign goal. So now it has added a goal for us over there, thanks to us having this full by IK solver. But our IK solver says that it's missing a root bone. The root bone comes from our hips. So we'll right click and say set root bone on selected solver. This will allow the solver to make sure to have all the bone hierarchies move in the proper way to make sure that it can reach those goals that we are setting out. Now we have one for the right hand. Let's make sure that we have one for the left hand as well. So add a new IK goal. We'll add assign a goal for left arm. We have one over there, and we can add one also for each of our feet to make sure that we can follow the same procedure as the UE5 mannequin. In this case, it would be the end of the toes, that bone that's representing where the solver is for the UE5 mannequin. So we'll make sure to right click on the toe end over here, new IK goal, right leg yes, left toe, new IK goal, assign goal yes. So now we have the solvers available. Let's see how we can make use of them. Going to our retargeter, we can now go in and select these retargeters. So in this case, we have a retargeter on the UE5 mannequin we can click on over here or over here. If we click on them over here, we can see we get some information available here. From the IK configuration part here, you can see we have a blend to source. A 0 value here means that it will try to keep its value that it has currently, and as for when you're moving more towards 1, it will try to adapt a closer position to its destination. You can see here it can't actually reach it. You see it has a problem with the arm, and this all harkens back to one of the original issues why this animation is looking like it is right now, which is we have a bad starting pose translation. So if we go and click stop over here, stop playback, the characters will go back to their default positions, and this is the position that the character will be making use of to try and use as a default start position, essentially. It's similar to how retargeting was done prior. So the closer these two T-poses match, the closer the animation retargeting will be as well. So we will be making changes to this to make sure that it lines up better and see the results from that. So let's go a little bit into detail about what we have here. Important things to note is you have this show retarget pose. You can click on to start showing that it should be running in retarget or not. You have this stop button we clicked to stop the retargeting. You have edit mode, reset mode, create mode here. Edit mode is what we will be using. Reset you can use to reset a reference pose. You can change between source and target hierarchies over here if there are different parts that you want to change up, because you might want to change on both skeletons. Generally you just want to change one. In this case our Unreal Engine 5 mannequin here comes in a pose. When we run the retargeter, this is what it tries to adapt to just align it. But if we stop that and go into edit mode and then say we want to change the clavicle. The clavicle on the left hand side we want to move up a little bit, maybe something like that. And do the same for, actually let's not do that yet. We'll do some changes to our left arm as well. Make it rise up a little bit, maybe something like that. We want to make sure that our lower arm is also bending outwards a bit, closer to what it is on the Mixamo skeleton. So this is essentially the part where you try to align your character as good as possible to the pose of the character or the skeleton that you're trying to translate from. So this will not be perfect, but it should be good enough, I think. Something like that maybe. We'll make sure to bend out the arm a little bit. We probably want this arm to go a bit higher. Something like that. Lower arm here is not great yet. Maybe something like that. Now you see this is a little bit closer. The more time you spend to making these look identical, including the fingers and everything like that, to make sure that it's looking as close as you can get, will help the retargeting process. So if we were to go out of edit mode, this is now what we have instead. So saving and going to our asset browser and going to our sprint now, you can see that again, let's pause. It is going to be closer and looking much better, slightly less deformed when it comes to the arm, for example, the right hand arm. And now it might be easier also. We probably should have done this step before, but you can see that it's closer when it comes to the fingers and the desired hand position as well over there, while this hand is just in standard. So again, by continuing to iterate and moving the retargeting poses closer to each other, the better result you'll get. Here it will be much clearer now how our IK goals will work for us. So if we were to edit the value on this IK goal on the Unreal Engine 5 mannequin now, you can see that it will move to the position of the skeleton of the Mixamo character and making sure that it aligns there, and then trying to adapt all the bones that are aligning or belonging to the chain and everything in an inverse kinematic way to make sure that it has a position that makes sense when it has this certain hand position. So doing this for all the different positions, like our feet as well, will give us a few key points where we are sort of saying, well, these should match, and then the rest of the character and the animations will have to adapt to make sure that that follows. So now you can see that the arms are much closer together when it comes to the movement, the feet are as well, and you can see that it has to change how its arm is to make sure that it keeps the position for the IK goal that we have set up here. So yeah, now we have gotten a little bit closer to our result that we want. Now let's say that we have reached a point here where we feel like, okay, we have made sure that this retargeting is as close as possible as we can get it. How do we make animations from this now to our Unreal Engine 5 mannequin? Well, all you need to do is actually just select whichever animation that you want to change, and then you click export selected animations. So let's make another folder here. We can call this UE5 Retargeted, and we just export it. So now it will create that animation asset, and we can open it up and you can see what it looks like when it's running on the Unreal Engine 5 mannequin in this case. So that's how easy it is to do the actual transferal once you're done with all of this. But like I said, this is a sort of process that takes a little bit of time to set up in the beginning to make sure that you have it. But then if you have a bunch of different animations, it's going to be easy to just move them over. You have the ability to alter a bunch of different things, like making sure that your arms are, like, I don't know, further from the body if you think that they're too close, or alter a bunch of different parts. Let's see here, if we go to let's see if we can find something that makes sense. Let's say we wanted a lower arm here. We wanted to have the you want to have the arm a little bit further out, for example. You want to have some sort of offset. You can sort of get that yourself manually by using offsets. The problem with that is that you are not doing a frame by frame change. You're not using a additive curve to the animation. Well, actually you are, but it's consistent over the whole animation. So if I were to change the offset of this hand, for example, that I wanted the lower arm to be out here, this will affect the whole animation, so it will run with it over there in that place. So if you can only make changes here that will affect the retargeting on animations as a whole, not on specific points that you feel like this part doesn't look good on animation, like a very small segment of it, these parts or these tools won't allow you to do that. For that you'll probably have to make use of the control rig or something like that. I'll show that in a different tutorial. Anyway, so now we have exported this animation, super awesome. Let's say that we had an Unreal Engine 4 character that we want this animation to be working on as well. How do we do that? Well, like I said, this is a third-person template, just the basic template, and with it comes, along with what we saw here earlier when we went to the characters, mannequins, rigs, we have the IK for the Unreal Engine 5, but we also have retargeters here. So this is a retarget that just says mannequin. But if we go to the mannequin UE4 and rigs, you can see that we have the IK for that one here as well. So you don't have to create an IK rig for the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin if you don't want to, but you have need for it. It is available here. In addition to that, you also have a retargeter from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5 and a retargeter from Unreal Engine 5 to Unreal Engine 4, which means that we could go into the Unreal Engine 5 targeter here now, and we could go and find this. Actually, let's find the animation we just retargeted, this one, and call this one Sprint 1, 2, 3. Something super obvious, so we can find it easily. So we can see that it's down here. And we can see that thanks to the retargeting that's set up here already, this is going to be the result if we just use it straight out of the box. And we can also remove the mesh offsets to see it overlay each other to see what it looks like. Because the animations will look slightly different between Unreal Engine 4 and Unreal Engine 5, because they do vary a little bit when it comes to the length and sizes of certain things, along with some bones that exist and don't exist depending on which way you're looking at it from. So if we said, okay, we want to have this animation now for the Unreal Engine 4 character, we just go to export selected animations, and then we create another folder for UE4 retargeted, and then we have one such animation that we can now run on our Unreal Engine 4 skeleton. So that's the process in general. Now I wanted to make some notes here. First off, this Unreal Engine, this animation that I took here from Mixamo was a in-place animation. It doesn't have root motion on it. If you want to make use of root motion, you have to have I do believe you have to have a root chain set up first of all. And you probably have to set the translation mode here to something as well. I'm not entirely sure which one, but there should be a few different things here. Also, what you could do is you could go to your, depending on what kind of animations you have and how they are differing from each other, you may want to go to your meshes and change up your settings for your skeleton. So by going to your skeleton and going to retargeting options, you have a few different settings here. For me, the most cases, I believe that having a animation set here and animation scaled. Let's see here, we need to right click here and set recursive set animation scaled. Like so. And if we do that for, I'm not entirely sure we will see a result in these animations here, but let's see what it looks like. So retargeting here, this one is set to scaled, and then let's go find our Mixamo skeleton and say that we want to have the same settings there as well. Let's see here. Here we need to set it from, is it from the hips, I do believe. Animation scaled. And let's see what that looks like in the animation. I'm not entirely sure we will be able to see different results. But something to keep in mind at least. When you get animations that might not look perfectly fine, you could always tweak and set these settings to your skeletons, and you might get a slightly more accurate result. These usually have to do with difference in sizes of the skeletons. For most things, when they're pretty close, you won't likely see a difference, I think. But that's just my general experience of retargeting at that. Another thing, this is very important as well. When it came to the naming convention of my IK rigs and my retargeter, it is very important that your naming conventions are clear when it comes to both the IK rigs and the retargeting asset, so that there is no confusion of whom it belongs to when you need to either make a change or do new retargeting. This is to make sure that it is no discrepancy and no problem to identify which assets are these referring to and which will be affected by them. Naming is very, very important for this. Now, this mentality is obviously not something that the coffee shop Starbucks pays much attention to, but they are, on the other hand, not game developers. So you do you, boo. You do you. For us mere mortals, however, this is sort of key. Anyway, I hope that this as a whole have been, I know it's a little bit fragmented and such, but I hope that the iterative style allows you to get a better understanding of how the retargeting works and why you might be getting different results. I felt like doing it step by step and fixing parts here and there would get a better understanding of why it is happening. So I hope that came across properly. Anyway, that is going to be all for now. Keep on learning. Take care. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you did not like it, leave a dislike. Leave any suggestions or comments you have down below. Subscribe and share this video if you want to see more like it in the future. That is all for now. Keep on learning. Take care.